Before coming on stage, I met a wonderful lady, and I asked for her name. And she told me the name of a country. And I thought she was joking. And I asked, why? When you ask why, and you ask questions, it makes you to understand where the other person is coming from. So sometimes I ask people, why do you think Santa drop off gifts when we're asleep? What did Donald Trump actually say that made people vote for him? What made you believe that your partner is the right person to marry? What made you to take part in that 10-year challenge that is going viral right now? How many of us did that? The 10-year challenge? It's going viral. So did you ask the question, why? Who started it? What was the reason behind that? What did the American rapper, Childish Gambino, what did he see? What did he experience? What happened to him? What did he discover that made him to write and to compose and to sing that song, This is America? Have you ever asked what were the reasons behind all of these things that we know right now, that we know today? The interesting thing is that sometimes we do not ask these questions because we want to feel inclusive. So we just allow things to happen, and we don't ask questions, and those situations they become the question and the answer for us, and we just flow with it. The most commonly used word is to use the word why. But it's amazing why people sometimes delete that from their reasoning dictionary. Why would you ask why? Because you care. Because you're interested. Because it makes sense to know why what you know is exactly what you know. Because what you know should be the truth. It should be pure. It should be exact. It should be undiluted. You need to own what you know. We all want to be strong and to be really proud of what we know. And as a result of that, we need to understand the process of learning. Objective versus subjective. Do you know what you know based on personal opinions, interpretations, points of views, emotions, and judgment? Or is it fact-based? Is it measurable? Is it observable? I'm not done yet with my speech, but I'm going to ask everybody, so far with my talk, how many of you think you know exactly what you know? Or you're thinking within yourself, do I really know everything 100%? Or I've based some on the things that I've read, on the things that I've heard, on the things that I truly did a research on. I've heard people call me a storyteller, even though I've never written a book before. Some call me a lawyer, even though I've never defended anybody in the court of law. Some see me from afar, and guess what? I've heard statements like this. Can I please have someone else attend to me? A Canadian? I've heard that before several times. And I kind of wonder, do people really take time to know? A very wise man, a great entrepreneur, and a strong believer in the creativity and the innovativeness of Africans, Nigerians in particular, my father, Amos Oladejo Fajimi. He gave me 2 words of wisdom. The first one, that my education is my inheritance, that it was a key that I needed to unlock any door that I chose to unlock, that it was a ticket for me to get to the Oscar, that would get me a vote to be a member of parliament, that could help me to be selected as an ambassador to the United Nations. He told me to seek education, to seek knowledge. Second advice, he said traveling was part of education, that I should strive to see places, that I should travel, that I should leave the shore of Africa and go far, that I should try to get familiar with different cultures, with different traditions and way of life, that the world is a house and that I shouldn't restrict myself to just the living room. You know, I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria, and at a very tender age, I became very inquisitive and I wanted to know. I always asked why, because I wanted to be proud of what I knew. In spite of the fact that I had never traveled out of Nigeria at that time, I used to open up the computer and Google the way of life abroad. I knew about the weather, even when I had no idea what the weather would be about. I knew about the fancy, expensive clothing, but now I know about the crazy sales and discounts. I knew about politics, but now I now know how interesting the US politics can be compared to the Canadian politics. Now, fast forward to now that I'm here in Canada. I got shocking exposition when I came here. And one of them is that I learned how much less the Western world knew about Africa. The media sales adverts are so engaging and captivating that you would often only see pictures that signifies poverty, disaster, conflict, corruption, war, malaria, hunger, kids without clothes or shoes. And then you would hear a call to action that sounds like this: donate $1 a day to save a dying African child. Call the number on your screen right now. While there is truth to those things going on, there are also consequences that goes with showing only the ugly stories. The danger of hearing a single-sided story can be so devastating, because you make people conclude that that is 100% complete. As much as I wouldn't deny that Africa do have some challenges, I wouldn't also want to wave away the very beautiful, true, powerful, inspiring, and engaging stories that come out of Africa. I once had a great colleague, a born Canadian at work. Now we are very close. And he asked me how I got to speak and write English language so well. I told him I would tell him if only he could tell me how he got to speak so well too. I could see he was displeased and offended that I could ask him the obvious. He told me English language is his first and natural language. Then I told him likewise myself. English language happens to be the official language in Nigeria, and that my country used to be under the British colonization, just like Canada is still under the Queen. We further discussed other things about Africa. He was surprised. It had never occurred to him that good, inspiring stories could actually come out from Africa. All he heard about while he was growing up was about Africa that was poor, sick, and unstable. The country. So it had become impossible for him to really see the exact and to know the exact story about the continent called Africa. And apparently, for some time, he had been watching me to see if I could make use of the photocopying machine, the coffee machine, and he did confess that to me. And he also told me it took him months to learn my name, but unknown to him, it had also taken me months to be able to pronounce his name, David. Another memorable instance was when my family and I were on a trip, and my daughter had asked for 25 cents. And I asked what she wanted to do with 25 cents. She said they were told in school to help donate 25 cents to save some dying kids in Africa. And I looked at my husband, and I looked back at my daughter, and I said, oh, that's a great idea. It's a great initiative to help people out of their problems. I will give you the 25 cents. She was super happy. She said, thank you. Then I told her that I've got this great idea for her because she was thinking of a good project to do at that time. At that time, she was 8 years. And she was so eager to hear about that idea. And I told her she could organize to raise money, as little as 25 cents donation, towards helping to get kids and poor people off the streets in Alberta. All of a sudden, her face and countenance changed, and she said, Mom, that's not nice. Why would you ever come up with such a project idea? Why would you insult people with 25 cents? Canada doesn't need help. Africa does. That was actually thought-provoking for me. She doesn't know. She simply just learned about Africa subjectively. I began to understand more about my colleagues' reaction to me. If I was never born and raised in Nigeria, and if all I knew about Africa was about trees, animals, and jungles, and monkeys, then I would also be like my colleague or my daughter, who had been sold the one-sided story of Africa. Now we need to actually start asking that question, why? How many of us agree with me right now that all we need is to hone what we know, hone it to be the truth? We should seek to find out why. To really know what we know. You know, there is a saying that says that who knows the intent, value, ideas, and culture of a man, if not the man himself? The world is looking around for wisdom and understanding, and they are looking from within themselves, trusting what they feel than what they see. Those kind of people will be tossed around all over the map miserably. Is that what you want out of life? To live life without knowing that what you know is exactly what you know? To know sometimes requires for you to take a trip. Take a trip, just like I did from Grand Prairie here to Peace River. travel, connect, relate. Take that visit to any African country. Go see the Africa of opportunities, the Africa that has got huge population of manpower resources, the Africa that is rising and will keep rising, the Africa that has got exciting innovation going on in places like Nigeria, Kenya, Cameroon, Ghana, South Africa, the Africa that is not a country, but a continent that consists of 53 countries. The Africa that has got some challenges, but still full of great young leaders with creative potentials. The Africa where several entrepreneurs who, against all odds, have developed businesses, some of them world-class. The Africa that you need to visit to be able to appreciate what I'm talking about. Take time to visit, and your life would never remain the same. The Africa that I'm asking you to visit is the one Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, visited 2 years ago and ate eba with egusi soup. And he even did a walkout on the 3rd mainland bridge. Mark said in 2016 that Africa is going to be where the next opportunity technology will take place. No wonder he and his wife, through the Chan Zuckerberg initiative, closed a $24 million Series B round of their first lead investment by investing in a company that is co-founded by a 26-year-old Nigerian. The company is called Andela. The Africa that I'm asking you to know and to truly know is not the shithole as described by an unintelligent man. But the Africa that I'm asking you to know is the Africa that educated, trained, and has produced the hundreds and thousands of North American doctors that are working hard to save the lives in Grand Prairie, in Alberta, in Canada, in the United States of America. It is quite unfortunate that North America is positively reaping from where it didn't sow. Time will not permit me to mention the several names of young business entrepreneurs, business owners, and artists in several African countries that are helping to rebuild and put Africa on the global map. But before I leave the stage, I would like you to know this. What you hear and read makes up what you know. What you see and experience also makes up what you know. But the latter, seeing and experiencing, is more valuable than the former. And that is where I, Ejibola, would rather be. And that's why I'm here in Canada, traveling all the way from Nigeria to see, to experience, to connect, to relate with everybody, so that I can know what North America is all about. I want to be proud to hone that story when I tell people. I want to be proud when I defend Canada or when I defend the United States of America, because I've seen, I've experienced it. It gives me power to hone the truth. What you know matters, and how you get to know matters more. It's high time we stop relying on the fake news, because all you need to do is to travel and to connect and get to know for yourself. Thank you.